Good. How are you doing?
Good.
I'm hitting start, everyone. So we're going live and participants are joining and different candidates are joining at the same time. So I'll let everyone load in here and then we'll have our first live poll during a debate. We haven't done that before. So we have a confused candidate. We have a candidate who's on the ballot. We have someone here who thinks this is the 3 questions.
Yeah, well, that is the schedule on. I thought that one is going to be 21. I have it the schedule for that one is a 22nd on May.
Oh, Helal. I think you're a little confused, but we can talk about it afterwards. Don't worry. We will get you everything you need. Okay.
Okay, 22nd I see on the schedule for that debate.
I
All
see
right.
Scala is in the audience here. We just promoted him. Are there any other council candidates in the audience that need to be promoted to panelists? I will happily promote you in my capacity. All right, so thank you everyone for being here. If other candidates do join, oh, I see Eric. Eric Tien, is he a candidate? No.
No.
Eric, you're not a candidate unless you type me and tell me who you really are. Okay, everyone, let's just jump in here. Eric, oh, it's Kaled. Okay, great. So we can promote him to a panelist. Thanks everyone for bearing with me through this beginning process. It is 6:35 and I'd like to get started. We have a bunch of candidates here. Kaled, just change your name to your actual name because this is being recorded with your names on the screen, everyone. You can't change it? Yes, you can. I'll do it for you.
I'll do it.
Oh, okay, great. You do it. Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to the Schneps Media PoliticsNY Council District 32 debate. Thanks for being part of it. Thanks to the candidates for being here. I'm Sky with PoliticsNY, and Schneps Media and PoliticsNY is the only media platform allowing for a platform. We are the only media outlet providing a platform for every single candidate to be heard and have their faces seen and voices heard. This forum right here is for Council District 32. Look at Ruben shaking his hand. We're going to have a little bit of a vote right now. Okay, everyone, because the truth is, everyone, Schneps Media PoliticsNY, we're the only outlet providing a platform for everyone to have their faces seen and voices heard who's really on the ballot. So Ruben here, I just learned he's not on the ballot. I'm happy to have him as part of the conversation because he's a write-in candidate, but I don't want to be unfair to the candidates who actually are on the ballot. So Ruben was so nice. He said we can take a poll with the other candidates, you guys, and just tell me like if you're comfortable with him being here or if you'd rather him not be here. And so who would like Ruben to leave? No one wants to be the one to raise their hand.
I mean, I think like Ruben, you know, we all are standing for democracy with our support with Kenny. The other side of this is that we're talking about the Democratic primary, which is June 22nd. And I know you're trying to be a write-in for the November election. Correct? Okay, so that's a little confusing for voters because this is the Democratic primary that we're trying to focus on. So just wanted to say that.
People can still write in their choice. So
listen, if there isn't an overwhelming desire to not have Ruben here, then I'm okay with having him here. And we'll just make it be known, everyone, Ruben is a write-in candidate. So he's not on the ballot. He is a write-in candidate. So
I like Ruben a lot. I don't mind him being here. So you got my vote, Ruben.
okay, so thank you guys for clearing that up. Southeast Queens is District 32. It's currently held by Eric Ulch, who's a Republican. And I invited him here to ask you guys a question, but he declined. So don't get nervous. So anyway, so let's just get into it. Everyone, let's go around, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're running for office. Do it in like 1 minute, and then we'll get into some of the other questions. And we'll begin with Kaled since he has an A last name. You're on mute.
I really apologize. Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be in this debate. I'm running because our city is in crisis. I grew up in Ozone Park. I went to school here in the district. I am running because I devoted my entire professional career to public service. This is the place where my family achieved their American dream and gave my family so much. My campaign is supported by the residents of this district. We've raised the most fund and have the least average contribution than any other candidate. People contributed to my campaign because they know that I am ready to lead from day one. Let's get going and let's get to work.
Thank you. Now let's hear from Ruben, who is a write-in candidate.
Hi, everyone. Ruben Cruz. I'm a proud dad. I grew up in the welfare system. I put myself through college and was the first in my family to earn a degree. I've worked just about every job you can imagine in Queens. And I started my own business, a successful business, teaching health and wellness and arts and culture to seniors and youth throughout the city. I started the first Queens Pet Pantry when the COVID-19 outbreak came out. And I invited all my fellow candidates to participate in helping our community, along with the Office of the Mayor's Animal Welfare, ASPCA, Humane Society, and Parks and Recreation. So I'm really proud of that. And our city spends $167,000 a minute. As your voice in City Council District 32, I want to account for every penny that's being spent on the budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Mike Scala.
Thank you to Schneps Media for hosting us here. My name is Mike Scala. I'm a candidate for City Council in District 32. By way of background, I'm an attorney. I've got experience in both the public sector and the private sector, which I think is important in a time like this because we find ourselves at a crossroads in our city's history. And I think we need leaders who are both ready to lead on day one, having the experience of being in the government, but also have a sense as to what people are dealing with in their day-to-day lives. And I come to the table with both. In the public sector, I've served as counsel and legislative director in the New York State Senate, working on the state budget as well as actually writing legislation. And on the private side, I have done a lot of work, but I also currently represent several organizations in the district who have come together during the pandemic to form a food pantry serving up to 1,000 families a week. I look to expand programs like that in the city council, but also broadly move us into the 21st century through investments in our infrastructure, like the Queens Rail, like municipal broadband. I think public safety at this point has to be an issue that we deal with, as well as being a champion for our small businesses and helping them get back on their feet. So for more on our platform, please visit scala.vision, and I look forward to tonight's discussion.
Thank you. And next, Helal.
Thank you for having me. My name is Helal Sheikh. I'm a former public school teacher, certified math teacher from high school. I'm running for City Council District 32 to give everyone Queens the same opportunity to succeed that I had. New York welcomed me as an immigrant at age 17 years old, taught me English, and led me to become a public school teacher. I work hard. Nothing comes easy here, but New York gave me the chance to thrive. We are facing huge challenge. I have seen too many friends and loved ones get sick pandemic. I have seen too many small businesses close their doors. I have seen too many neighbors struggling pay their rent. It will take hard work and strong leadership for us to recover. When the pandemic hit, I teamed up with my wife, a doctor, to provide free medical assistance to our community, and will provide support for struggling small business to get neighborhood back to work. We need to build for Queens that work for everybody by improving transportation, especially for our neighbor out there in the Rockaway, and lowering property tax make our community more affordable. We need to get work now to save the Queens I love for the future. I am asking for your vote and lead us through this time crisis, build the ahead. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Felicia Singh.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Felicia Singh. I'm a teacher and proud daughter of a taxi driver. My family has known the uncertainty of living paycheck to paycheck, mounting debt, and stable unemployment. I've navigated systems not created to support us, but to bring our communities down and be left behind. My life's work is providing seva or service and leading with courage. I have over a decade of teaching experience, including serving our country as an English teacher in the Peace Corps and teaching special education in New York City. In my service work as a civic leader, I have led community forums, voter registration, community cleanups. I was borough director of Amplify Her, and I've led canvassing in Queens for the 2020 census in neighborhoods like Ozone Park, Jamaica, and Richmond Hill, which were severely undercounted and underfunded in 2010. My priorities are to fully fund our schools, support our small businesses, and build a climate resiliency plan for our district. With ranked choice voting, your vote is even more powerful because you can rank up to 5 candidates on the ballot at the same time. So vote for me, Felicia Singh, #1 on June 22nd, or early voting starting June 12th. You can find out more about my campaign at felicia2021.com. Thank you.
Thank you. And just so everyone knows here and our voters know that all the candidates for District 32 were invited to participate in this debate because Schneps Media Politics NY were that kind of a forum. So let's go in the same order and now talk about what you believe to be the number one issue impacting District 32 and what you can do with your superpower to help that one specific issue. So Kaled.
Hello again. My priorities is a comprehensive plan leading with public safety, transportation, and the environment as a comprehensive plan for the city of New York. My own brother is a sergeant with the NYPD, and he's not a bad guy. He works for the DEP, wants to do a good thing for the city of New York. I will make sure that the police department is reformed the right way. Get the police out of the school system. Get the police out of the traffic control program. I will make sure that they are well-trained and also help out in making sure our community can get involved in the system, get more cops in the street. As of the environment, I've been working for over 20 years. My program and my project have been the climate change adaptation and mitigation plan for the city of New York. And my district is the most vulnerable district in the city. Howard Beach, Hamilton Beach, the Rockaways constantly get inundated with flood. I created the Jamaica Bay Watershed Protection Plan, worked on it for over a decade. And I will bring these ideas, you know, the de Blasio administration came up with One NYC. Previous to that, the Bloomberg administration came up with Plan NYC. But what I propose is that the city council and the mayor come up with a plan called Now NYC, where we deal with climate change right away. Transportation is a big issue in the area where the Rockaways, Howard Beach is more of an adopted child for the city of New York. I want to make sure they have efficient transportation system. We cannot tell them to practice sustainability without giving them efficient public system that is safe for all.
Okay, so those really 3 issues, but okay, I'll let it go. Ruben, you next. What's the number one issue and what is specific about you to fix it?
The COVID-19 crisis sort of put us and the world on a reset. And I think this is an opportunity for us to do things different and better. My number one priority is getting us back to work safely. Right now, we have a crisis in transportation. The Americans with Disabilities Act was enacted over 30 years ago. The MTA had 10 years to get us ADA compliant, and it's 30 years later, and we're still not there. We have elderly and the disabled, some which can never manage the stairs going up and down to get to the subway. We have crater-sized holes in our district where there's no transportation available. What I want to do is add eco-friendly, handicap-accessible buses throughout all the districts, filling in those gaps increasing the number of buses available, and ensuring that we all get to work and back home safely and on time.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, Mike Scala.
The top issue has to be recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic and getting back to work, getting our city back on our feet. I propose doing that through strong and bold infrastructure investments, one of which is the Queens Rail, former Rockaway Beach line of the Long Island Railroad, another of which is municipal broadband. I believe I was the first candidate in the city to call for that publicly. These projects are important because they create good paying union jobs in the short term where people can be hired to build and maintain the infrastructure. And of course, we have to attach robust local hiring goals to them. But in the long term, they create economic growth and opportunity for our city, which is so important right now. Just as one example, why is New York City still the only city in the country where there's no direct link from our airport, JFK, to the heart of the city, in our case, Midtown Manhattan? We're losing so much money in revenue, obviously even pre-pandemic, but now is the perfect time. Let's seize this opportunity to make investments in our infrastructure and in our future to make New York City the great city that we envision it to be.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. Helal. Oops, you're on mute.
Okay, my one is going to be for the transportation. Well,
Transportation.
yeah, transportation, I would say, get the problem because of my children, those transportation service get their school. My elder daughters use A train to get to Brooklyn Tech High School. And my youngest daughter goes to the bus for the bus.
Mm-hmm.
On my youngest one goes to the bus, which is use the bus for the Scholar Academy on Rockaway, in the Rockaway. And I support the expansion of New York City ferry service and increase the bus service. I will also fight for federal funding for our transportation system needs after lose the the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm fully support for reactivating the old Rockaway Beach rail line as well, for the rail line.
Great, thank you. And Felicia Singh, your number one issue and how you can fix it.
I want to talk about economic recovery because it's intersectional to how our communities feel safe, how people feel safe, and it's intersectional with climate resiliency. I want to invest in a Line for Greater New York's plan to create 100,000 climate jobs, union jobs that would provide prevailing wage, as well as safety for our workers. Public land development for climate adaptation and mitigation would create 28,000 jobs here in New York City. And those are jobs that could be in District 32 because we are a coastal district. Renewable energy and efficiency systems would create 5,000 jobs. Local manufacturing hubs would create 17,000 jobs. This is what people need coming out of a crisis, something that's traumatized our families, individuals, and children. We need a strong economic plan, and that's what I can provide our city and our district.
Great, awesome. Now I would like for each of you to maybe ask someone else a question, and then we can have a little bit of conversation surrounding that topic, and maybe we'll go in reverse this time. So Felicia, if you want to go first and ask a question, it can be specific or it could be a conversation topic, and we'll have a little bit of a chat.
Sure, am I just asking for anyone to answer?
Whatever you think.
Sure, this can go towards any of the other candidates in the space. I'd really love for us to really talk about our community in the way of our working class communities here in this district, in regards to what is it that you feel like is the greatest need for our working class community, and how do you propose on addressing that issue?
Okay. Who would like to begin the conversation?
I wouldn't mind beginning the conversation because I think broadly we should be speaking about up-down issues, not left-right issues, because up-down issues unite us. They bring people together, and I think that's what we need to be focusing on. We've already heard some of these issues touched upon: transportation, COVID recovery, small business, public safety. I think whether you live in Breezy Point or Woodhaven, you want to be able to get to work quickly. You want to be safe if you're taking the subway, right? These are all issues. If you're running a business, 80% of our residents in the city are in small business. in some form. I think you want to make sure that our small businesses are protected. I'm proud to have done work throughout our entire eclectic district. In the Rockaways, I represented families in lawsuits against the city. In Ozone Park, I represent organizations that have formed the food pantry during COVID. In Howard Beach, where I reside and serve as a county committee member, I have organized park cleanups in Charles Park and the area, which brought people together as well. I also brought the religious community, which uses the park, into the conversation, talk about how can we access our parks safely and respect everyone's First Amendment rights while also respecting the environment. So these are all issues that I've worked on in an effort to bring people together. And again, I think that's the way to do it. You focus on up-down issues that make a difference in people's everyday lives.
Now, just to clarify, when you say up, down versus left, right, when you say left, right, do you mean political left, right, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, instead of being caught up in partisan politics and,
Right.
and using labels like progressive, conservative, moderate, let's talk about what the city council can do to actually help people and make a difference in their lives. Because the old saying is there's no Republican or Democratic way to pick up garbage, right? I think a lot of that applies here too. We all want a clean environment and a healthy space to live in.
Fantastic. Well, so, yes.
Well,
Kaled.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
go ahead, Khaled, go ahead. You go ahead, no problem. Go ahead.
Thank you for being so kind. I am a scientist by profession, worked at Columbia University while working for the New York City DEP, and I know, and I rely heavily on data. Post-economic recovery relies on us getting vaccinated as a whole. I am anxious to see the city reopening again. New York City is 10% of the national gross domestic product. For this year alone, the mayor's office came up with $98.6 billion budget. Do we know that 60% of it will be spent the first half? This might be sustainable for the first half, but what do we do when we get into office? Obviously, I'm a single person as city council. We need to educate the new system. You know, 2/3 of city council have reached a term limit. We're losing a lot of brain power there. You need people that will get ready from day one and make decision. I'm the person that actually have worked heavily on recovery from the 9/11, the housing crisis for the New York City DEP, and I am ready from day one for post-recovery, get our businesses, small businesses open again. And we want to make sure that there's be an incentive. And I think that have to do a lot with tax incentive. And it have to do directly with pay tax.
The teacher public school is political.
Sorry. Oh, you're good, Kaled. Okay, great. Now, Helal, did you want to say something about Felicia's question about the working class?
Well, I'm in working class people as well. Even though my wife is a physician and I'm a former public school teacher, I know how struggling people are doing. So the working class after the pandemic, of course, eventually they're going to go to work, and I know how to do it, all these things. So I have a bunch of other issues as well for the school transportation, property tax reduce, all these things. Right now, you know, sometimes is like a big developer for the property tax, they're taking more of the taxes. They're getting the tax break but the small business, they're not getting the fair share. So if we work together, I think we can solve all those issues, all the problems.
Mm-hmm. Felicia, did you want to respond to your own question and talk about the working class?
You know, again, like all of my policy points that I've created and all of my platforms, it's about intersectionality. And, you know, I just want to comment on what Mr. Scala just spoke about in regards to divisiveness and up and down and political affiliations. The working class are not people who are up and down and left and right. They are across all spectrums. And this district encompasses parts of this neighborhood and these communities, no matter what your political affiliation is, as working class. And so what we need to really be focusing on is how we could bring legislation and policy to City Hall, because our working class communities like District 32, which is low resource, has deep food inequities, is a transportation desert, and really bring these issues to the forefront of City Hall in order to well resource our communities here.
Mike, did you want to ask? Oh, yes, Ruben, do you want to comment on this topic?
I just want to make it really quick. For working class people in our homes, I wanted to just lower the taxes. And we have an issue here in which homeowners and businesses, it's not against the law in New York to put a lien on your property without telling you. In other states, it's against the law to put a lien on your home unless someone tells you. Here, I want to make sure that there's a law against that because many people are being taken to task with liens on their home without their knowledge. And I think that's something that's really important for us to address.
We can talk about that issue, but I want to give Mike a chance. Maybe Mike, do you want to ask a question or introduce a topic?
Or I would like to ask a question to everyone, and that's that obviously we've heard a lot of talk about defunding the police over the past year or so. Even more recently, some candidates have taken it a step further and called for abolishing the police altogether. And I would like to know where everyone here stands on that.
Okay, let's hear.
You want me to start it with from there, Mike?
Sure, tell us, where do you stand on the police issue?
Well, I am standing for favor. I mean, I don't want to be defunding because at this junction right now, we can give a plan how we can improve it, but I'm not favoring for defunding the police because imagine, especially it depends on the different district, different neighbor. In our district, what I believe we shouldn't defunding the police budget. The funding. We need to work together to how we can improve it with something not for the defunding. So in that sense, I would say like we can put it on more improve community police relation so that community, especially for Black and Hispanic neighbor, feel like they're the part. They are like the public protect and respect us. We also need work to get gun off the street with the street back program. Lifeguard, so that put and also they need to work with the local police to make sure their need are met. All of those things we need to be taking care of. I don't believe it. We need to be defending for the police.
Okay. Does anyone else want to chime in on this issue?
Yeah, I'll go.
Sure.
Our needs for safety look different district by district, community by community. And we need to expand who decides on keeping us safe. And our community can do a lot of that. We need to invest in our community in a different way because the same responses don't work. Police respond to crime, they do not prevent it. And we need to expand services to safety to be community-led. It's actually helpful, not hurtful for communities to do that. Investing in violence interrupters, which is a program that already exists in our city, care responders is how we can keep our community safe. In the first quarter of 2021, domestic violence complaints involving an intimate partner increased dramatically. Reports from 102 precinct were increased by 53%, 106 precinct, almost 60%, and 100 precinct, almost 50%. So if we were heavily investing in organizations like the Jahaji Sisters that do gender justice work on the ground, this could offset the deep burden and ill-equipped approaches our police have towards domestic violence. And this is how we can expand safety. I'm the only candidate that has a gender justice platform on my website addressing this issue and reimagining community safety.
Okay. Kaled, where do you stand on the police issue?
I mentioned earlier, I am not an expert on policing, but my brother is. He's the head of strategic planning for the NYPD. And I'll tell you, the police department needs resources. They need to be reformed. We need to ask people in the field, what are the best ways and means? I am not an expert in everything. I cannot solve every problem, but here's what I heard that it works, is that we need to change the system, how the system works. We cannot have a militarized unit, command center. We need to have a chain of command from the militarized unit, which is a police captain, that we need to get the community involved to do sensitivity training. It takes a very long time to train a police officers. it takes a while for forming an organization and putting it together, and you constantly got to revise it over and over until you get it right. Technology kicked in, and that's where we went bad. Seems to be that we tend to listen to people that don't know what they talk about, and we have seen Mayor de Blasio reverse his decision, where he last week decided to fund the police department more than $100 million. And I don't want to be the person that is responsible for the spike in crime. And those that are saying that they want to defund the police, I say shame on you.
Ruben, did you want to chime into this issue?
I'm thinking about it and feeling it.
You can think and
I
feel.
want my daughter.
Okay.
No, it was just a feeling.
Okay.
I want my daughter to be able to look up to a police officer and feel safe. That's all any of us want. Now, I don't believe in a punitive approach to governance. That being said, there's portions of the New York NYPD with branches outside of New York City. Why is that? It's wasteful. It makes no sense. The idea of defunding the police, to me, is a little bit of a sham, because we want to address, let's make one thing clear really quickly. Black lives matter, period, exclamation point, bold and underline. But how are we going to get there? Just a few days ago, I was talking with a woman outside, an elderly woman, and in the street, a car pulled up. The guy got out and started beating on a gentleman. My first instinct was to put my shoulder and arm over this woman. And the woman was saying, "Thank you, thank you." Now that was my first reaction. Another reaction could be a very natural one, to run away, get away from there.
Mm-hmm.
Another reaction is to run towards the conflict, to try to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
But my instinct was to cover and protect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the approach that we need to take, and to look at how we can get our communities and police really working together, not these memos of what we should be doing, but what we're going to do.
Mm-hmm. And Mike, do you want to answer your own question and tell everyone and the voters what you feel about the police?
Yes, absolutely. And I appreciate Ruben's perspective on this, because my approach is that this is a human issue. It's not about dollars and cents. And so I find it irritating and offensive, quite frankly, when people talk about defund, especially abolishing at a time like this. That's not what the approach should be. I'm all about policy, common sense reform that, by the way, gives our officers the tools to do their jobs more efficiently and with the full cooperation and trust of the community. So when I talk about policy proposals, I'm talking about things like expanding the range of services the 911 call can provide. Sometimes you might want a mental health professional. Not all calls, though, warrant that. So it's a case-by-case basis. But I'm also big on more community policing and allowing officers to serve their own communities. That's work that I've done. I'll say at the same time, I'm glad that in the proposed budget this year, overtime was restored for our officers, because we need to be working in conjunction with our first responders and not have an adversarial relationship, because that is not conducive to a good relationship and good policy for our people and for our officers.
And we need our police officers living with us too, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen,
And live outside the system.
this has been a very hot button issue. And Felicia, I saw you taking some notes. Is there any response that you wanted to say to any of this?
Yeah, you know, when we talk about Black Lives Matter, it's about the way we've been treating our Black communities in the history of America and this city. And a lot of the correlation and a lot of the conversation, unfortunately, about our Black community has been about policing. And so when we talk about reallocating money from the law enforcement budget into other services, it's really about the wellness, the physical, the mental, the emotional wellness of people who've been completely marginalized by the city. We've been doing the same thing. The history of our city is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. It's time we expand what public safety looks like for our communities. It needs to be community owned. When we talk about expanding services for 911, that takes money. When we talk about, Kaled mentioned that in the beginning of this, that he wants to take police out of school. That's removing money from the law enforcement budget for school safety officers and putting it somewhere else. So you do support defund. So I'm a little confused at some of the answers, because a lot about services and reallocating money and expanding services is about money. And it's about using our New York City budget in a way that demonstrates our values as a city, in valuing people to live dignified lives.
Listen, this is great. Let's talk about this more. I know, Kaled, you're going to jump in. Mike, you jump in, because it's true. You hear defund the police, and to different people, it means different things. It's confusing. So let's clarify for the voters exactly where each of you stand on this issue.
So my plan is, I had the conversation with Commissioner Shea of the police department, and he does agree with me that the school police officers shouldn't be in school, shouldn't be doing traffic, and that is diverting some of the staffing out. But we need resources in sensitivity training, we need resources in cultural training, and we need a diverse police force. So we need to support the unit that is organized to lower the crime, to respond to crime the right way. And you know what? Black people are my brothers and sisters, and I support them. And I hear you. I know what pain they go through. You know, they're, and this goes back to cultural sensitivity training. And that's why what I brought in, that the community should be involved in making sure that police officers comes in from the area that they live in. They don't have to live in Long Island. We don't want them to live in Westchester County in New Jersey. We want police department to come in from the district right here. They get to know people by names. They get to know the criminals. They get to know where they hang out. And this is what police community is. But I support giving police a raise, because in order, and this is really coming from the police department, in order to keep good police folks in the system, you need to pay them right. You cannot get a police officer $40,000, $50,000 and expect them to stay. They leave after they train and have 2 years experience. And we've seen that a lot, and for them leaving. They get beat by the system, and they get beat by the public constantly yelling that they're not doing the job. I am for the police.
Mike.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, to me, I don't think anyone here, from what I heard, is calling for the budget to always be stagnant year after year. I just think that we don't want to lead in terms of the budgetary effect. We want to lead in terms of the policy. And in some areas, more funding will be required. For example, overtime hours, giving cops a pay raise. That'll take more funding. In some areas, perhaps funds aren't needed if you're going to change the policy such that the police will be focusing on other things. And so I approach this from a legislative perspective. I think when you come into it talking about defund, you're automatically putting people on the defensive, and that sounds antagonistic.
Well, I would like to share also with the Khaled what he was saying, what I was listening. The bad police, everywhere, it doesn't not necessarily meaning whether it's a small range of salary or a high range of salary. It doesn't matter. Everywhere, good and bad, whether it's a good teacher, bad teacher, good policeman, bad policeman. So we would think, whoever, if it's a bad, they need to somehow they figured out to take them out. But those are good, whether if you pay decent amount, it's still you're gonna be good and bad always. That's how it was, it will be. But as much as we can eliminate the way we can do it, that's how we can go for it.
I also want to add that, there are 3 jurisdictions in which City Council has the greatest power. It's public land use, oversight on city agencies, and it's the New York City budget. The mayor proposes a budget for our city and how we spend our money. A budget is a document of values, of where we think people are worth spending money and how we want to spend it, and where we don't think so. That is your main role as a city council member. So yes, sure, you'll have time to create introductions to legislation and policy, proposed policy that the mayor will then have to sign. But your biggest role is how you allocate money line by line in the New York City budget. So law enforcement has line by line budget on how they spend money. Like locker room renovations cost $33.7 million. New helicopter, $18.8 million. You would decide as a city council member.
Dog is $68,000.
Right. Thank you for that addition, Ruben. And so you're deciding how money is allocated and reallocated. Teachers are defunded all the time. I am an educator. I have to buy my own supplies to decorate my classroom and then possibly get reimbursed for it. Our school systems defunded all the time. So the way our biggest role and most important role is how we spend money in this city. And I can't wait to do it as city council member because I am the only person who clearly understands that our major role is how we spend money and we need to make sure we do that effectively.
If I may, I believe there may be a miscommunication here, but of course, policy is important, but policy isn't only created through introductions, through legislation. A lot of our city's policy is created through the budget. So it is an important discussion, but if schools are defunded, if teachers, nobody is saying defund the teachers. I mean, I think that's the issue. It's the messaging here. And we don't want to lead with, let's just take money away. That doesn't give you any information. So when we talk about wanting it to be about policy, of course, a lot of policy is made through the budget process, but the question still becomes, what policy are we talking about here? It's not as simple as defund and leave it at that. That leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, and rightfully so.
You're right. We're not using defund towards teachers. We just take the money and then give them what we think they deserve. That's the problem.
I've been working for the city of New York for over 20 years, and I know how budget runs, and I know how to ask for resources and the time frame we get the resources. So for those people that are saying that they know how the city runs, you need to do your homework. You know, experience is a big, big role in city government. Obviously, you'll be one city council out of 51. You will recommend and vote on issues. There are committees or there's subcommittees that have certain powers, but at the end of the day, the Speaker of the House or the Speaker in general and the mayor make the decision. And this is where I come in when I tell people that we've been talking to tens of thousands of people in our district and asking them what are their number one issue, and they say crime, and they support the police department. So if you don't support the police department and you're running in the moderate district, good luck.
Okay,
If I just may add a final thought on that.
sure.
I believe that this issue is so easy to become muddied. We're talking about the defunding of the police, the demilitarization of the police, but what does that have to do with the core issue? And the core issue is that there have been incidents of police brutality, of Black lives in jeopardy. With that in mind, we talk about other issues like defunding the police, and things get muddier and muddier. So we're moving money around, but where does the blame go? And in essence, I have family that are on the job, retired or working currently, and I call them to task when they say a thing that I say, what is the matter with you? But besides that point, what happens when a police officer does something wrong and it goes to the district attorney or the attorney general and the judge? They're the ones who are responsible to take our well-being, our community, our people's health into consideration and act accordingly and punish that officer accordingly. They're the ones who are not doing their jobs. I don't blame the police officer for getting off on a court case. It's the judge, it's the district attorney, the attorney general. They got to do their jobs. That's where we have to focus that attention.
Ruben, that's why we have expert witness. And this is one of the main reasons that we should be focusing on these issues and solving these issues. Not the NYPD is not the whole system to blame. There's individual folks that are bad for the system. Get them out of the system. Reallocate them to administrative work and let the police do their job. We want crime to come down in our district. This cannot go on any longer. about a month ago. My
Thank you,
own
Kelly.
home was about to burglarize.
I'm sorry, but Sky, you can see that we all care about our community immensely.
Yes.
That's why I'm proud of this group, because we've all talked about this amongst ourselves before. And you've got the best group of candidates that have actually talked to each other throughout this campaign. We've met, hung out, talked, maybe argued a little bit, but we're together in a lot of these issues.
That's really great, you guys. It's great to hear that when there's love between the candidates.
I actually talk to everybody, and if you're going to be a city council, you need to talk to everyone, not only just Democrat, but also Republican, independent, people that don't vote for you, because at the end of the day, you're going to have to serve them. As a matter of fact, my own office opens 3 hours, and we take complaint and we address them before I'm even in city council. So I recommend that you guys should do the same thing. You know, talk to when your folks are canvassing, tell them to come to the office. We'll address their issue. You know, 311 is not working anymore. It is just not working. And this is is to reform that system, and it becomes responsibility of the city council. We just cannot rely on this balkanized data.
So this is a good question. You know, we have 10 minutes left, so I want to have everyone do their concluding thoughts, but maybe before that, let's go around quickly and say what you would do if you're not elected, how you would remain involved, or if you would run away. Kaled.
Yes, thank you very much. I am an expert on climate change adaptation and mitigation program, and I am a graduate of Columbia University Sustainable Program. I really want to ask my candidates, my opponents, that what is their plan? They've been want to champion resiliency. They want to champion energy efficiency. And we do have a plan. I did a lot of input in Plan NYC, One NYC. It is a plan. They didn't implement it, but I would like to hear their idea, you know, beforehand.
Okay. Okay. Change of script. Let's go into the environment. What are the plans? Go. Ruben, what's the plan?
Okay, number one, I'm nobody's opponent. Regardless, and I've told each and every one of you and each and every person that's not here that regardless of who wins this election, we're still neighbors. I want to show that if we could work now, like we have, then we could work together regardless of who wins the election, because we'll still be neighbors. We still need our scientists, our teachers, our lawyers, everybody involved in making our community better. And I expect all of us, I'm pledging, I'm going to be involved. I'm going to work with whoever's in there. And I expect the same from all of you. We got to work on this together always.
Yes, Mike, how will you stay involved and or the environment question?
Well, we've got 2 questions on the floor now. All right. Well, I'm proud to have been endorsed by the New York League of Conservation Voters for my work around environmental issues. I talked about the park cleanups that I've done, but it's bigger than that, right? It's about being more resilient to save us and protect us, God forbid, in case there's another Superstorm Sandy-like event in our district. I've worked very closely with activists in Rockaway in particular, because I always say the beach is not just for recreation, it's also a line of defense against the weather. And you'll see beach erosion if you come down to Rockaway. The Army Corps of Engineers finally is supposedly on schedule to complete the jetty project that we've been waiting for, but there's so much more we could do in that area. And I'm proud to have worked for years with our activists and our civics in the district to help that, because we've suffered through Sandy, and in many ways we're still trying to recover from it. We know what's at stake here. In the long run, we need to focus on clean electricity, carbon neutrality goals, really moving us forward. This relates back to what I said earlier about moving into the 21st century. It's good economics, right? There are good green jobs to be had here, but it's also the humane thing to do. We really don't have a choice. We have to move into the future, and green future is where it's at. And like I said, I'm proud to be known as the environmental candidate in this race. The Conservation Voters is the only group that rates and scores candidates on environmental issues, and it's something I take very seriously because our future depends on it.
Wonderful. Helal, your thoughts on how will you stay involved and or the environment? And you're on mute.
Well, I will always try to serving since long time. I was student body president. I've been serving. After that, I was a school teacher and I was serving. And now still I am serving with the community with my wife as a physician, working with her for the community as well. So I've been I will do it continually.
Okay. And Felicia Singh, tell us environment and or involvement.
I'll try and answer both. the future of our environment is so important. You know, scientists say we have about 12 years to really reduce our carbon footprint before it's too late. That's why I have the endorsement from Sunrise Movement, which is a youth-led national organization on climate justice. And so currently the way our city works is you have Department of Environmental Protection and the Mayor's Office on Resilience, and you have Army Corps and many other organizations that help build communities to resilience. The problem is that they all do work separately and they don't necessarily talk to our communities in the same way or inform our communities about projects and infrastructures that are happening in the community. My first piece of legislation once in City Hall is to create an integrated plan that mandates city agencies to talk to our community members about infrastructure changes that are happening in coastal districts. Why is this important? I met John from Bell Harbor Property Owners Association a couple of weeks ago during their beach cleanup, and he talked to me about how frustrated he was about not understanding what the Army Corps' plan is with dunes being built. Turns out he was informed of a plan that was happening, that was built 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, and Army Corps had a plan that they updated 2 weeks after. And so he didn't even know about that until New York City Parks Department told him. So this is the kind of confusion that really creates frustration within our community members. We know individuals have a large role in reducing our carbon footprint, and so do communities. And if we can't work together with city agencies to build a plan, what are we really doing? A lot of the work that I had been doing previously was teaching. As I said, I've been a certified English teacher for the last 10 years. I want to create a K-12 education service learning program rooted in STEM, where we're teaching children about climate change. New Jersey is doing it. Why can't New York? Why can't New York City? And so creating a pilot program here in this district, something that I would be leading whether or not I'm in council, is something I really want to put to the forefront of change. So thank you.
Great.
Sky, can I just quickly respond to
But no, not really. Really quick, unless you want this to be your conclusion, because look, we have 5 minutes left and there's 5 of you.
Let it be the conclusion. I've been working on the Jamaica Bay Watershed Protection Plan and the Jamaica Bay water quality studies for over 2 decades. And I've been reaching out to communities. We've been reaching out to civic organizations. As a matter of fact, yesterday, I reached out to Joe Adabo, and we had a dialogue on best ways and means of dealing with storm surge. And I proposed a $500 million, 5 years plan for the area, which is basically building mounds, planting Spartina alterniflora that will buffer the water quality and also reduce the speed. But also we've been working heavily on with the Army Corps of Engineering. But I'll tell you one thing, none of my opponents have been involved in the environment, in the past, even though they could tell you that they are community organizers. Sorry, but guys, you need to be honest when you're running for city council.
I just have a question. Kaled, if you're in that Jamaica Bay project, right? The League of Conservation Voters endorsed Mike, right?
I believe so. They did. They looked at Mike from a different perspective, that they think that he had the best chance of winning in the district. But as a climate change, I'm the one that has been doing it for both for City Hall. I've been working heavily with the Office of Sustainable Management, Army Corps, the New York State DEC. I've been working with the Parks Department. As a matter of fact, we partner with them to build a lot of the wetlands. And I'm the one that is responsible for freezing the decast properties in the coastal areas so they become a buffer for the Jamaica Bay.
Thank you. Ruben, concluding thoughts. Just 1 minute.
Thank you. Please, right after this, go on the computer, type in rubencruz.nyc. Visit my page. I want you to go to the comments section. Tell me what you want to see that we need to do to improve your neighborhood and what we need to do to make the city better. Let's get on track for this. If we add more buses, it's more jobs, a cleaner environment, and God bless.
Thank you. Mike Scala, concluding thoughts, 1 minute.
Sure. I want to thank you again, Sky and Schneps Media, for hosting us. This was a great discussion. And I want to use the opportunity to talk about the question that was posed previously, which I didn't get to in my last answer, how I will stay involved in the community. I think it's important to discuss this because I have been involved in the community for many years. I haven't just come around because I was running for office. I've got a relationship with the neighborhoods throughout our entire district. And that's very important because we have such a beautiful, diverse, eclectic district. Queens is known as the world's borough, and there's no better example of that in my mind than our district. And so I'm proud to be from here, and I'm proud to be running to be your next city council member. I've mentioned I was endorsed by the New York League of Conservation Voters. I've also been endorsed by the United Federation of Teachers, who recognize me as the best candidate to fight for teachers and their interest in the district. We also have the endorsement of the Uniformed Fire Officers Association, because I am a strong proponent and supporter of our first responders. So I think you'll see that I have relationships and the support and trust of many diverse groups representing issues, again, that are up, down, not left, right. I'm here to fight for you and make a difference in your day-to-day lives. And if you're in our district, I hope you will vote for me as your first choice vote on June 22nd or starting June 12th, early voting. Thank you.
Thank you. Helal, final thoughts, 1 minute.
Well, the final part is thank you for hosting. And now I would say, as I would like to thank the people who voted me 2017, who make me second to 2017. I'm requesting them again, because as you know, I don't believe in talk. I believe in work. I came age of 17. I learned English here, and I became a public school teacher. And I have my wife is a physician who's serving here. I have 2 kids, one going to Brooklyn Tech, one going to Scholar Academy. And I don't believe in talk. I believe in work. That is the American dream. So we want to share together. And I'm requesting all of them this time, not second, make me first to the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Felicia, your final thoughts.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I am Felicia Singh. My work as an educator, community leader, and experience navigating systems that don't work for our neighbors is what qualifies me to represent our community. With endorsements from labor unions like DC 37, 32BJ, and NYSNA, which is a Nurses Association, HTC, Sunrise Movement, and Working Families Party, I am the Democrat to rally behind. Vote for me, Felicia Singh, #1 on June 22nd, and join our campaign at felicia2021.com. Thank you.
Great, guys. We ended right on time. I really appreciate it with the candidates. I gather from Ruben that this means you like it. So thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to our live audience. And again, on behalf of Schneps Media and PoliticsNY, I'm Sky, and this is recorded and it'll be on our website, politicsny.com/debates, and subscribe to our newsletter. Send us op-eds, anything you post on social media, tag us and we'll amplify it, because that's what our is, party blind. We're just going to amplify everything. So thank you so much. Good luck to each of you, and we'll see you next time.
Have a nice weekend, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
We appreciate it.